Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, we're going to talk about that incident in Broward County. If you're not familiar with it, deputies beat up some kids. That's what it boils down to. We're not going to talk about whether or not the use of force was justified. Based on the statements that we have, it wasn't. But we don't have all the statements. We do not have all of the facts. So we can't really talk about that. But there is something extremely interesting that occurred in that video that seems to be getting missed. And it's something that citizens in general, and especially police accountability activists, need to pay attention to. So what happened was, kid was detained, and another kid, looks like he picked something up off the ground. We can't tell because there's a crowd of people. But when he comes up on officers approaching him, it looks like he's, basically saying, "What are you doing?" or something like that. We can't hear it. But all of a sudden, that cop pepper sprays him. The kid covers his face, falls back into the crowd, kind of flailing around. Cop grabs him, throws him to the ground. Now, what most people are focusing on is the other officer who comes over, smashes the kid's face into the concrete, punches him in the back of the head because he's trying to cover his face, and then smashes his face again. That's what they're focusing on. And yeah, that's important. That's definitely an important piece of the puzzle. But rather than watching that and the other officers coming in to screen, pay attention to the officer who pepper sprayed him. He walks towards him, places one foot right at his hip, the other foot a little bit back, bends both of his knees, and his arm is coming up like this. Anybody who's been arrested knows what's about to happen. That kid is about to feel that knee in the small of his back, center of his back, and that forearm is about to rest right here. What that tells me is that this department, at least some people in it, are trained in the proper way to do this. You can maintain control of a suspect without smashing their face into the concrete. In fact, that's pretty much wholly unwarranted. As far as legal, tactical, and medical liability, the legal and medical liability there's pretty high, and you're not gaining a big tactical advantage. It's not warranted. Now, what is warranted and what is within policy are rarely the same thing. I don't see a high likelihood of people who are calling for justice in this case getting what they want, because more than likely this is going to come back as within policy. You need to move to change the policy, because what it appears to me is that this department has been trained in the right way to do this, and that the deputy that smashed his face into it just chose not to. It's important. Now, maybe he's a new deputy, maybe he wasn't trained in it. There's a whole lot we don't know. But that's a pretty important piece that I don't see getting discussed. That officer who pepper sprayed him was calm. He was abrasive, he was commanding, but he didn't look like he had let his emotions take control of him. Look at the other deputy. People are asking, and this has been a specific question I've gotten, why did he throw him to the ground to begin with? I know this is going to sound weird. That is the right move. He pepper sprayed him. Okay, he used force on him. He's going into custody. Okay, that's just standard. Whether or not it's right, it's what pretty much always happens. As far as throwing him to the ground, the reason it's the right thing to do is that after the pepper spray, the kid is blind. He's in a crowd and he's flailing. He is a risk to the other people in the crowd. Putting him on the ground is the right thing to do. The way it was done, but I guarantee you that's within policy. Not the way I would suggest it, but that doesn't look like it was done with malice. That looks like, well, we got to put him down, and here we go. And it certainly appears that that deputy attempted to take him into custody the right way and was interrupted by the other officer, the other deputy. It's something that people need to pay attention to, because that tells you that the department has the training and has the skills that it needs to have, and it's just not using them. Now again, all of this is preliminary. We could find out more. We could find out that, he bent down to pick up a gun or a knife. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. The most likely story that I have heard, it appears he was picking up a phone that was dropped. Again, don't know if it's true. We don't have all of those details yet. What we do know is that the deputy who pepper sprayed him was attempting to do it the right way. And it's very clear from the video. Go back, watch it, watch the different angles, and you'll see that very deliberate movement. It's exactly what he was going to do. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.